I'm here with Dr. Lars Feld, a member of the Council of Economic Experts, which advises Chancellor Angela Merkel. Dr. Feld, do you believe at this point that Greece has any other option but to restructure its debt?
I don't think that Greece will succeed in this consolidation strategy without any restructuring in the future, or perhaps also in the recent future.
And why is that?
Well, when you look at the development of the debt to GDP ratio that is forecasted for the next couple of years, and you look at economic development in Greece, the GDP has not grown as much as supposed last year, and also the ability of Greece to collect sufficient revenue to consolidate has not been as high as supposed. You can expect that Greece is going to have a debt to GDP ratio of 150% already in 2013 or at the latest in 2014. And this would mean that 8 to 9% of GDP has to be paid in interest payments, mainly to foreigners. This is definitely a difficult political situation for Greece.
And do you think there's a political consensus here in Germany that a restructuring of Greece's debt is necessary?
Well, there is a consensus among most economists that that restructuring has to take place. But when you look at political decision makers, there is well, some divided position there. I think that the government is currently not willing to support a Greek restructuring. And when you look at the ECB and also at the German representatives in the ECB, they are not supporting the Greek restructuring as well.
What do you see as a time frame for potential Greek restructuring?
Well, I think that Greece should restructure sooner than later, because what we want to achieve is that the borrowers, the private borrowers, are at least contributing to this restructuring. When you look at 2013, the largest part of Greek debt will be held by public borrowers only, and then this is gonna be problematic.
So are you seeing by the end of the year, or within even a matter of weeks and months?
Well, it just depends how much and how far the Greek government has already talked to the banks holding its debt. This is the main thing that needs to be done now, and the faster they could do that, the sooner they could restructure Greek debt.
And to your knowledge, are these discussions going on a political level between Greek and German officials, for example, or Greek and German banks?
Well, I'm not aware of any direct contact between them, but I'm sure that they are talking about it. They would be crazy if they didn't, because they must be prepared for the situation of a Greek restructuring. When Greek restructuring is taking place, the public officials in Germany and in the other Eurozone countries, but also the banks in the different countries, must be prepared for that restructuring.
Now, we've heard some fairly stark comments from Jürgen Stark over the weekend, saying that at worst case scenario, this could trigger some sort of Lehman-type credit crisis. Do you think those warnings are fair? Is there that kind of risk?
Well, this risk is always present. But the question is how strong this risk is, how high it is. And I can expect from a representative of the European Central Bank that he's particularly highlighting the risk because the ECB doesn't want to be responsible for a second Lehman-like problem in financial markets. And therefore they may have a bias to put a too high figure on this risk of well, traditional or classical contagion.
And in terms of German banks specifically, how exposed are they to Greek debt? Can they survive a Greek restructuring? How damaging would it be?
Well, the exposure of German banks is relatively high to the highly indebted countries overall. But regarding Greece, the exposure is not so strong as there should be strong difficulties for the German banking system. It is particularly the Landesbanken again that have difficulties or may have difficulties, but they are already well, under scrutiny for several reasons. And also hyper real estate is heavily exposed. And they are also under supervision, and they are fully owned by the federal government. So I don't think that the private banking sector in Germany is going to have particular problems, in particular not Deutsche Bank or Commerzbank.
Do you still see a threat of contagion of this crisis spreading to Spain or possibly Italy? Or do you think they have drawn a line under the crisis?
I think that Italy has already drawn a line under the crisis. And I also think that Spain is able to withstand any further developments in financial markets. Spain has already done quite a lot. It is not so highly indebted as many other countries in the European Union. For example, it has a lower debt to GDP ratio than Germany has, although its private sector is more heavily indebted. The large Spanish banks, they are very healthy, and I think the restructuring of the savings banks has took place to a considerable pace.
Now, to change the topic slightly, it appears that Mario Draghi may have won the support of France and French President Nicolas Sarkozy to replace Jean-Claude Trichet. Do you think he will also win German support and the support of Angela Merkel?
Well, I think he could, yes.
And what kind of president do you think he would be of the ECB?
Well, he is very highly qualified, and he's a very good economist and a very nice person. So I think he's going to make a very good president.
Do you think the ECB in general will begin to take a more hawkish approach to inflation, for example?
Well, I think they need to. There must be one of the larger central banks starting to become more hawkish in due course. We have already seen one interest rate hike. I expect that there's going to be 2 more in the course of this year. And I think that the ECB, but also the Fed, must start to withdraw from its quantitative easing policy.